First this hour, the Israeli military says it's begun an investigation after security forces were filmed shooting dead two Palestinian men who appeared to be unarmed and surrendering during a raid in the occupied West Bank. In the footage, they can be seen leaving a building surrounded by armed Israeli forces in the city of Jenin, lifting their shirts and lying on the ground in an apparent surrender. The troops then appear to direct the detainees back inside the building before opening fire at close range. Well, for more, let's cross live now to our correspondent in Jerusalem. Noga Tarnopolsky is standing by for us. Noga, we've seen some of this footage. It's too gruesome really to show all of it for obvious reasons. Just talk to us a little bit about exactly what we can see in that.
Well, what we see, as you well described, appears to be an intentional summary execution of two Palestinians in the town of Jenin and the vicinity of Jenin in the northern West Bank who had surrendered and were not a threat to the IDF forces who were supposed to be arresting them. I think it is very important to note that no one has denied the veracity of this film. In other words, there has been some back and forth tonight about whether the Israeli army in fact was opening an investigation or whether instead it was saying that the forces that shot at these Palestinians were border police and thus it's under the purview of the police. That does not remain clear to me. But no one is doubting the truthfulness of this video. And, you know, in an era of such questions about the veracity of the news we transmit, I think that's an important point. I do have a statement from the army that says that the commanders on the ground initiated an investigation. Again, it leaves it open to know if it's the army or the police. But this is in a context, let's just say, of first of all, the Israeli minister in charge of the police, the Minister for National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, a man who was convicted in his past more than 10 times of hate crimes and terror affiliations himself as an extremist Jewish nationalist hooligan for many years. He celebrated this shooting. So he would be in charge if in fact it's the border police that has to investigate this. And he has said that he applauds the forces that shot these, again, seemingly non-threatening, surrendering Palestinians. And we have a whole series of events today in the West Bank, including an off-duty Israeli soldier who saw an event underway in which police were arresting Palestinians illegally in Israel, just arresting them for having illegally crossed the border. And this off-duty soldier who had been on a bus traveling by the incident shot at one of these Palestinians who was being arrested. The Palestinian was not killed, but that's another incident that is being investigated right now. And earlier today, Jewish West Bank settlers set fire to a mosque in the village of Bidia. All of these events taking place as settler violence, sometimes supported by Israel Defense Forces soldiers against Palestinians, is surging. And just during the second day of an Israeli army, what they're calling a vast counter-terror operation in the West Bank that's not actually centered in the town of Jenin, centered in a different Palestinian town of Tubas. So it's a very chaotic scene. We don't have full information, but I suspect that tomorrow we're going to start to get a rush of news regarding what Palestinians and others are referring to as this evident war crime of armed Israeli troops shooting unarmed Palestinians.
Noga, for now, we leave it there. That is Noga Tarnopolsky joining us live from Jerusalem with more on that footage emerging of what appears to be two Palestinians being shot dead by Israeli forces. Moving on.